but it is overwhelming. One of the things I've learned working in industry for the better part of 2 decades is that the more complex of a model you have, the less likely that it'll work very well. As the phrase goes, keep it simple, stupid. Accordingly, we at Seventh Morning have put together a pretty lightweight and easy to use model for requirements definition. We gave it the super creative name, the Seventh Morning Requirements Definition Model. For brevity, I'll just call it RDM. RDM was created with the goal of coming up with a simple and easy to remember model for requirements definition. In most other models, it's not uncommon to see 10, 12, even 20 steps in a lengthy requirements process. But these processes don't very accurately describe the actual requirements definition processes that are normally encountered in the world of analysis. They model an idealized state, not the actual activities done by BAs in the real world. And you can see the simplicity of our model on your screen now. There are only 3 phases to RDM. The first is the form phase. This phase contains all the activities by which requirements are gathered. So things like elicitation, brainstorming, research, they're all covered here. Also, the bulk of the documentation happens in the form phase as well. The goal of the phase is to essentially start from zero and to come up with a first draft of the requirements document, however messy it might be. The second phase is transform. And this one contains all the activities which transform the requirements gathered into the final product. Requirements walkthroughs, analysis, modeling, validation, verification, they all happen in this phase. And the goal of this phase is to come up with relatively clean and quote-unquote final requirements. The third and last phase is finalize. And this is where you start with fairly clean requirements and you get them to a baselined or finalized state. And this includes a lot of things. Prioritization of requirements, presentations to stakeholders, socializing requirements, gaining acceptance, approvals, all that kind of stuff. And the goal of this final phase is, again, to end up with a fully complete, fully approved, prioritized requirements document. And that's it. That's the whole model. And we'll be using it to structure the rest of the course, by the way. From a planning perspective, as a starting point, I usually assume that each phase will take roughly the same amount of time, but that could change based on a million different factors. So it's helpful in that way, but it's also just really easy to work with. We all have enough complexity in our jobs already. You can use this model if you want. You certainly don't have to. We frankly use it mostly as a mnemonic device and to help us plan our own business analysis activities. So that wraps up our discussion on the various life cycles you're likely to encounter as a business analyst. You'll see them over and over again on the job, and with time you'll be an expert. Let's now move on to the next lecture where we start to dive into the core requirements discussion, and that is forming requirements.